From criminal cops last week to private police this week, I wonder which ones are more successful. What's in the news with stories on zero tolerance, deadly cops, rapist cops, graffiti trumps property rights, Tide Pod bans, and Pentagon loses more money. Plus a special Herding Cats episode on a follow-up from Liberty Forum and big news for PorcFest XV. This episode is brought to you by Heleum, a long-term savings accelerator allowing you to start investing in cryptos without you having to do the busy work. Also brought to you by ZenCash, a cryptocurrency that infuses privacy, anonymity, and security done right.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the state that is the home of the annual New Hampshire Liberty Forum, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. Hat tip to Bree for the change in language to that sentence. You can catch me on Twitter at the Lava Flow Pod. This is episode 81, Private Police, and it's Thursday, February 15th, 2018, when there have already been more than 150 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at $20,630,225,000,000 in debt. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. After last week's Criminal Cops episode, I was thrilled to see the article on private police that I'll be covering in this episode. Apparently, in Britain, right now, there is a new completely private police force probing hundreds of crimes, including murder and rape, and they have a 100% conviction rate so far. They have prosecuted more than 400 criminals and are led by former Scotland Yard senior officers. The name of the firm is TMI, and they are now believed to bring more private convictions than any other organization except for the RSPCA, the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. The company has a service called My Local Bobby, which costs wealthy homeowners around $200 a month and involves a guard patrolling their streets. TMI are also looking into 3 murder cases that cops were unable to solve and are helping out in rape, missing persons, burglary, theft, stalking, and blackmail cases. In 2 years, the company has successfully convicted 403 criminals for fraud, intellectual property theft, and other offenses. Figures show the firm has 36 criminal cases currently awaiting a result at UK courts, and they're working on 60 further investigations in London, Cheshire, Dorset, Avon, and Somerset and Essex. In 6 months, 60 investigators have caught suspects wanted by cops for attempted murder and rape. They've also managed to smash a major counterfeit goods gang using undercover operatives. TMI doesn't charge for investigative services, but recoups costs from the courts if offenders are convicted. My Local Bobby was launched last year and covers up to 250 houses in plush Belgravia, Mayfair, and Kensington. Clients shelling out from 100 to 200 pounds a month are given a meet and greet service from the car or tube and have a hotline straight to their offices, whose location they can track on their iPad and who can respond to crime in 5 minutes or less. And 5 minutes is their promised service guarantee. Try getting that from your local police protection gang. The firm's managing director, David McKelvey, a retired Scottish Yard Detective Chief Inspector, said, "We probably do more undercover work than any other law enforcement agency. We have a better surveillance capability and equipment than most forces. It's about catching the bad guys and protecting the public, and we can help with that. Police are on their knees, sick to the teeth with what is going on in their job. The bottom line is we have better uniforms, better pay, and better support at work. It's a huge growth industry." David Green of the think tank Civitas and a former advisor to the government said, "This seems a reflection of the fact that the police are overstretched, underfunded, and unable to cope, and this group has emerged to fill the gap. There is nothing wrong with private security or private patrols. But if they take on some of the functions of the police and the call for this grows, there is a danger there is not the same safeguards that we have with the police. If the police do something wrong, there's a clear disciplinary structure, a chain of accountability, and independent scrutiny. If these private firms exercise police powers without public accountability, there could be dangers there. Oh, he must mean those safeguards that allow cops to hide behind their badges for anything from theft to rape to murder. Personally, I'm perfectly fine with private officers not having those same dangerous safeguards. Let's be honest, private officers will be held to a higher scrutiny and will be more liable to be held accountable for actions that they take that abuse the rights of people because they can't hide behind their government badges. And that's one of the many reasons that private police options are much more attractive, not to mention they don't steal from people through taxes and fines to fund themselves. How long do you think a private police company would stay in business if they employed police officers who didn't do their job and abused their customers? This is why groups such as TMI and Detroit Threat Management Center here in the States are so important for our evolution from government gang members policing areas. Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In Zero Tolerance, Zero Brains news, 22-year-old track coach Taylor Boncall is being charged with 3 counts of felony sexual assault on a man who is 18 years old and who completely consented to the acts. I shit you not. This happened in New Britain, Connecticut, and the 18-year-old was a student, but not of Boncall's. He wasn't even a student at her school. He was just a student at a school in the same district. Even though Boncall didn't teach at the student school, another student approached West Hartford's school resource officer to report that the two were in a relationship. This was one jealous little shit who turned them in, if you ask me. Police investigated and determined that the two had sex multiple times during their relationship and that all incidents occurred off of school grounds. The student's parents said that the two were in love and requested that Boncall not be prosecuted. The school district fired Boncall, and a judge issued a warrant for her arrest on January 25th for 3 counts of sexual assault in the second degree, a felony. The sexual assault statute specifically prohibits people from having sex with students who attend, quote, a school under the jurisdiction of the local or regional board of education which employs the actor, regardless if the suspect was actually their teacher. So let's recap here. A 22-year-old woman had a relationship with an 18-year-old man, and now she's going to prison, even though the man and his parents say that she shouldn't be charged, all because she worked at a teacher in an entirely different school where she had no contact with him during school hours. Yep, this makes complete fucking sense in no universe ever. And this is why consent laws and age of consent discussions are so important, because if these discussions aren't had, then stupid shit like this happens in order to protect someone who doesn't want or need protecting. This is insanity, folks. The cognitive dissonance it takes to think that an 18-year-old man needs protecting from his beautiful 22-year-old hot girlfriend who he is in love with is just crazy. In Fuck the Police news, a Tennessee sheriff is being sued for using excessive force after he was recorded boasting that he told officers to shoot a man rather than risk damaging police cars by ramming him off the road. They said we're ramming him, Sheriff Odie Shoup of White County said on tape in the aftermath of the killing of suspect Michael Dial. I said, don't ram him, shoot him. Fuck that shit. I ain't gonna tear up my cars. Shoup arrived on the scene shortly after police had shot Dial at the conclusion of a low-speed chase, clearly upset he had missed the excitement. I love this shit, Shoup said, apparently unaware that his comments were being picked up by another deputy's body-worn camera. God, I tell you what, I thrive on it. If they don't think I'll give the damn order to kill that motherfucker, they're full of shit, he added, laughing. Take him out. I'm here on the damn wrong end of the country, he said. Shoup's comments have prompted a federal lawsuit from Dial's widow, Robin Dial, alleging the use of excessive force against her late husband, who was unarmed. It was not only inappropriate, but also unconscionable for defendant Shoup to give the order to use deadly force, the filing states, calling his decision proof of a malicious and sadistic mindset. No shit. The suit also names the county, the city of Sparta, and the two officers who fired their weapons. Dial's attorney, David Weissman, told The Guardian, "The comments, as seen on the video, are extremely disturbing. I'm not sure how anybody can thrive on the taking of a life, let alone somebody in law enforcement." Deputies tried using a PIT, pursuit intervention technique maneuver, to slow Dial's car, a common police tactic involving a police car nudging another vehicle to turn it sideways. But Shoup radioed officers to tell them to stop attempting to do that, instead ordering them to shoot the driver. When a deputy had successfully nudged Dial off the road, Reserve Deputy Adam West, who was in pursuit in his own personal vehicle, fired 3 shots as the vehicle went down into a ditch. Dial died of a gunshot wound to the head. Now, this is all kinds of fucked up, guys. This is yet another example of a bad apple that has spoiled the bunch, period. And this is the sheriff. He is the boss. He's the elected official that the rest of the men are supposed to listen to and follow orders from. He's a fucking monster, period, and nothing more than a gang boss. This is gross, but it is just another of hundreds or even thousands of such cases that happen all the time. We need to get rid of all government cops and replace them with private cops like we just talked about, who can actually be held responsible for such actions when and if they happen. Imagine if your savings had the power to grow all by itself, without you having to do any busy work. Introducing Heleum, a long-term savings accelerator powered by Uphold, an online wallet that lets you easily store your money as dozens of national and cryptocurrencies. Conversion rates between currencies are constantly moving up and down. Heleum watches these rates for you so that it can convert your funds when the time is right. By floating into currencies when they're down and floating out when they're up, Heleum automatically collects small gains every chance that it gets. Just add funds to Heleum from your bank or digital wallet, and you're done. Heleum will notify you whenever your account grows, so you can enjoy more of what matters in life. Heleum. Let your money move you. Sign up today at thelavaflow.com/savings. Now, I've personally used this product since the beta, and I still use it, and I've seen it work as advertised, or I wouldn't recommend it to you. Join me in accelerating your savings by signing up at thelavaflow.com/savings. In kidnapped consent news, 18-year-old Anna was kidnapped from a parked car by 2 plainclothes detectives for having weed in the car. Handcuffed and kidnapped by the 2 over 6 feet tall detectives who were powerfully built, Anna, a slender woman just over 5 feet tall, was put into the back of an unmarked police van with tinted windows, where she was raped by both officers while repeatedly telling them no. Between assaults, she said, the van pulled over so the cops could switch drivers. Less than an hour later, a few minutes' drive from where it all began, the detectives dropped Anna off on the side of the road, a quarter mile from a police station, surveillance footage shows. She stood on the sidewalk, her arms wrapped around her chest, looking up and down the dimly lit street and pacing slowly before borrowing a cell phone from a passerby to call a friend. The cops made no arrest, issued no citation, filed no paperwork about the stop. Hours later, Anna and her mother went to a hospital, where Anna told nurses 2 detectives had sexually assaulted her according to hospital records. Semen collected in Anna's rape kit matched the DNA of detectives Eddie Martins, 37, and Richard Hall, 33, of the Brooklyn South Narcotics Unit. Both have since resigned from the force and have been charged with rape. Anna assumed it was a simple case. 2 cops had sex with a woman in their custody in the middle of their shift. But Anna didn't know that in New York, there is no law specifically stating that it is illegal for police officers or sheriff's deputies in the field to have sex with someone in their custody. It is one of 35 states where armed law enforcement officers can evade sexual assault charges by claiming that such an encounter, from groping to intercourse, was consensual. In recent years, some states have closed this loophole, applying to cops the same rules already in place nationwide for probation officers and prison and jail guards. Of at least 158 law enforcement officers charged since 2006 with sexual assault, sexual battery, or unlawful sexual conduct with somebody under their control, at least 26 have been acquitted or had charges dropped based on the consent defense, according to a review of a database of more than 700 law enforcement officers accused of sexual misconduct. In most of the states that do not explicitly outlaw sex between on-duty cops and detainees, including New York, an officer can claim consent and face only a misdemeanor official misconduct charge, which carries a maximum 1-year sentence. Look, it's simple. If you're kidnapped, handcuffed, threatened, and repeatedly saying no, this is the definition of non-consensual sex. Rape. Period. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It doesn't get simpler. Anna was raped by authorities, men who were supposed to protect her from rape. Yet they instead gang-raped her while wearing a badge. Fuck these guys in the neck. In What the Actual Fuck News, ruling that graffiti, a typically transient form of art, was of sufficient stature to be protected by the law, a federal judge in Brooklyn awarded a judgment of $6.7 million on Monday to 21 graffiti artists whose works were destroyed in 2013 at the 5 Points Complex in Long Island City, Queens. No, I can't make this shit up. In November, a landmark trial came to a close in federal district court in Brooklyn when a civil jury decided that Jerry Wolkoff, a real estate developer who owned 5 Points, broke the law when he whitewashed dozens of swirling murals at the complex, obliterating what a lawyer for the artist has called the world's largest open-air aerosol museum. Though Mr. Wolkoff's lawyers had argued that the buildings were his to treat as he pleased, the jury found he violated the Visual Artists' Rights Act, or VARA, which has been used to protect public air of recognized stature, created on someone else's property. Dean Nickheiper, a partner who specializes in art law at the firm Withers Bergman, said there have been other instances where graffiti artists have been recognized as deserving protection, adding that courts have ruled that clothing designers who cribbed ideas from graffiti artists were liable for intellectual theft. Just another reason why intellectual property is bullshit. But the 5 Points case, he said, was the first time that graffiti and graffiti artists were protected under VARA. Eric Baum, a lawyer for the artists, said, "The clear message is that art protected by federal law must be cherished and not destroyed. With this win, the spirit of 5 Points becomes a legacy for generations of artists to come." Yeah, and what legacy is that? That they can do whatever they want to someone else's property in New York and it will be protected, and even rewarded. What's the point of private property anymore if people can ignore it with impunity and with protection from the court system that is supposed to protect property rights? Since when did art trump private property? Since now, apparently, because someone's rights is more important than your property. Fuck your rights. One cryptocurrency project that I'm most excited about right now is ZenCash, with privacy, anonymity, and security done right. You can read all about ZenCash at thelavaflow.com/zen. Now look, I've read a ton of white papers on crypto, and this is the first one I've read that mentioned voluntary and voluntarist not once but 7 times. These are our people, and they are on the right track to mix great technology, excellent marketing, and awesome uses for their product. These guys get it, and they understand what crypto is all about. And you can even get free ZenCash right now by going to the ZenCash faucet at thelavaflow.com/freezen. Now, this is a project, guys, that I believe in 100%. So much so that I have staked some of my own Zen to run a secure node on their network. So don't miss out on checking out this awesome project at thelavaflow.com/zen. In the stupid protecting the stupid news, New York state legislators have unveiled a bill that would require all detergent packages, such as Tide Pods sold in New York, to be of a uniform color that is unattractive to children. The product would also have to come wrapped in child bite-resistant packaging. Also, there would need to be a warning label informing would-be Tide Pod champions that the product is dangerous to eat. Senator Brad Hoylman, one of the sponsors of the bill, said, "As the parent of 2 young kids, I'm very concerned about the safety of liquid detergent packets. It's way past time to fix these products or remove them altogether from store shelves." Consumer safety activists also released statements of support for the bill. Shino Tanakawa, a member of Community Education Council District and clearly a master of how teens think, said, "By clearly marking individual packages with a warning message, I hope teenagers will rethink their self-harming behavior." The fear expressed by proponents of a Tide Pod ban is that the product looks and smells dangerously like candy, thus leading children to consume them. Yet the actual number of fatal poisonings resulting from children consuming these items is quite small. From 2012 to 2017, only 2 children died from consuming liquid detergent packs. That's compared to the 16 kids under the age of 6 who died from exposure to batteries between 2012 and 2016, according to the National Poisons Control Center. Batteries, you may have noted, do not resemble candy in any way. Look, if Darwinism deems that you're destined to eat a fucking Tide Pod, then maybe that's not a bad thing for the rest of us. Apparently, it is rarely or almost never fatal. It may even lead to you reflecting on your life choices a bit if it makes you sick. But I still believe that no one should be able to tell you what you ingest, even if it is something as silly as a Tide Pod, so you can be the next viral video or 15-second internet sensation. Who am I, or anyone else, to get in the way of that? In its only stolen money news, the Pentagon failed to track more than $800 million in construction spending adequately, according to an internal audit of one of the Defense Department's largest agencies. That audit, obtained and published by Politico on Monday, shows that the Pentagon's Defense Logistics Agency, DLA, described as the military's Walmart because it's responsible for processing supplies and equipment, lacks a paper trail for millions of dollars of spending, making it impossible for auditors to determine how funds were used. Across the board, its financial management is so weak that its leaders and oversight bodies have no reliable way to track the huge sums it's responsible for, the firm warned in its initial audit of the massive Pentagon purchasing agent, Politico reported. Comparing this organization with a private company that is well known for tracking its inventory closely like Walmart is just ridiculous in my personal opinion, but no one asked me. The audit, completed back in December, found misstatements on the DLA's books, totaling $465 million. Another $384 million lacked sufficient documentation, and sometimes had no documentation at all. Gaping holes in the Pentagon's bookkeeping suggest there is even more waste that remains unknown. And, of course there is. Why wouldn't there be? It's not their money, after all. They don't care. It's stolen money to be used as they see fit. And it's stolen from you and me.
Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode. Or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
Herding cats. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy.
Anybody can herd cattle. Holding together 10,000 half-wild short hairs, well, that's another thing altogether.
Being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
I'm fresh off of the New Hampshire Liberty Forum high from this weekend. I love Liberty Forum because it is a huge family reunion for me. I get to see so many people who are family. Plus, I get to continue to grow my Liberty family every year by meeting new, amazing people. This year, I stayed pretty busy at the event because I had to man the PorcFest table to sell early bird tickets for this year's PorcFest. And I was asked to moderate 2 different panels of podcasters and captain 2 off-site dinners related to Liberty Media. But I still found time to hang out with the most amazing people on the planet. The 2 panels that I moderated were just awesome. The first one was with national podcasters. It included Jack Spirko from the Survival Podcast, Vin Armani from the Vin Armani Show, and Lou Perez of We the Internet TV. The second panel was one I was even more excited about. It was for New Hampshire podcasters and included 4 people who have podcasts that I actually listen to on a regular basis, all 4 of them. It included Brian Sovereign from Sovereign Tech, Stephanie Murphy from Sex and Science Hour, Brett Venot from School Sucks Podcast, and Tom Hudson from UpRev Ninja Podcast. It was badass to spend time on stage asking all of these folks questions, and they were all amazing. But getting back to PorcFest, we started our early bird ticket sales this weekend at Liberty Forum, and you still have a chance to get the cheapest tickets to PorcFest that you will ever be able to get. PorcFest will be running Tuesday, June 19th through Sunday, June 24th this year, and the cost right now to attend that entire week-long event is only $50 for a general admission ticket. That's $30 off, and these will be going back up to normal price after March 1st. Do not miss this huge sale. But in my opinion, the very best value at the event is the VIP, the very important porcupine treatment. These tickets are currently $200, but they will be going up to $230 also on March 1st. Yes, I know that $200 seems expensive, but it's for a whole week, and let me explain to you why it's the best value ticket. You get everything that the general admission ticket gets with the VIP. Plus, you get a deluxe swag bag with an exclusive gift only for VIPers. You get reserved front row seating at the main pavilion for all the events there. Plus, an all-access pass to the exclusive VIP tent. Big fucking deal. It's just a tent, right? Or is it? This tent includes happy hour appetizers each evening with drinks, both hot and cold all weekend, plus bar snacks, complimentary pastries and coffee each morning. And you get to rub shoulders with our special guests, celebritarians, and keynote speakers who will be hanging out in the VIP tent all week. We will also have meet and greets with these speakers and live musical performances in the tent. This tent alone is worth the price. It is truly a private party within a party. Don't miss your chance to be treated like a very important porcupine for a week. And this weekend, we announced our first speaker and musical act for PorcFest. Backwards, a solid libertarian ANCAP rap metal band from Texas, fronted by Eric July, co-founder of the Being Libertarian Facebook page and very outspoken anarcho-capitalist. Backwards has been described as the libertarian Rage Against the Machine. But Eric July says, we don't really sound like Rage, but it's the default we get compared to because they're political and they mix rap with rock and metal. I don't rap like Rage. Musically, we are more hardcore than Rage is. Those guys are Noam Chomsky types, and that ain't us. With song titles like Statism, Self-Ownership, and Individualism, and lyrics to match, you do not want to miss these guys giving you a live concert. And while we have them there, Eric July will also be speaking on the main pavilion stage. This is the first of many announcements that we're going to have in the upcoming weeks. But don't miss out on your early bird tickets now by going to thelavaflow.com/PF. Again, get your early bird tickets today and save $30 before March 1st at thelavaflow.com/PF. Don't be filled with regret. Do it now.
Fuck. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad is Liberty. Each week we strive to bring you the best guests in talk radio. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad delivers weekly interviews of noteworthy politicians, experts, and activists. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad is bringing the party to the Libertarian Party and launching ideas in your direction. Check us out at johnnyrocketlaunchpad.com, and you can hear me, Kurt Nelson, and the beautiful Heather Nixon talk about the ideas of liberty. Rock and roll.
Ask me anything. Roger will answer your questions about, well, anything. Do you have a question for Roger? Email AMA@thelavaflow.com or add your question to the latest AMA thread in the Pax Libertas Productions Facebook group.
So normally in my schedule, I would wait until next week to answer some AMA questions, but I had a little extra time this episode, so I thought I'd use that time to help me get caught up a little bit with a couple of questions. A supporter of the show, Ryan P., asked, "What does a court system look like in an anarchist society? Civil matters are easy enough to figure out, but what do you do with incurable and dangerously insane people? What do you do with someone who rapes and murders children? What mechanisms would be in place to separate truly dangerous people from the rest of us? Also, what do you do with otherwise peaceful people who would just make a terrible mistake that costs lives, i.e. a DUI or workplace carelessness that results in an accident, etc.? Ryan, just like last week, this is a very deep and difficult question to answer, primarily because it's about as impossible to determine what the free market will come up with to solve these problems in the future. It's about as impossible as defining what an iPhone would look like in the year 2000. However, there are tons of people who work on these sorts of thought experiments all the time. When it comes to private courts, I always refer people to two sources. First, Robert Murphy's short pamphlet called Chaos Theory. There's a free PDF of this document on the Mises.org site and in the show notes to this episode at thelavaflow.com/81. Another great resource is Murray Rothbard's For a New Liberty, also available for free on Mises.org and in the show notes to this episode. This book is among the reasons that I'm an anarchist today. The short answer that I feel comfortable giving is that property rights would be what would truly separate us from dangerous people. In a society truly ruled by property rights, you can dictate who enters your property. You can also decide to only frequent the private property of others who don't allow dangerous people on their property. I expect there would be stores or businesses that cater to dangerous people and would allow them on their property, likely at a premium cost. There would also be charities that would help these sorts of people out. There would be other places that would cater to people like me who have a family and want to shield them from dangerous people. Finally, we all make mistakes. Some of them are more destructive than others, of course, but we're all still responsible for those mistakes. I hold the pretty unpopular opinion that a DUI is a victimless crime until or if someone or their property is harmed. Unless, of course, the owner of the private road you're on forbids you driving with any alcohol in your system, which is a pretty high likelihood in a private road system. I believe that most places that want to increase their business will not restrict people who do not have a large history of those types of mistakes. In other words, I think forgiveness of an incident or two would be popular to be able to increase sales at your business. But habitual offenders and dangerous people would still be heavily restricted, I'm sure. The great thing about the free market is that people much more intelligent than I am would be sorting these sorts of things out through trial and error, and the cream will always rise to the top. And secondly, a question from one of my supporters, Link W. She asks, under what circumstances might an adult lose the right to make their own decisions for the same reason children can't, because they're no longer cognitively capable of recognizing the consequences? For example, elders are frequently manipulated into giving up huge sums of money that they'd insist they were giving voluntarily, even if it leads to financial distress, like being unable to afford adequate food or shelter. Is there a time their adult children would have a right to intervene? What about an obligation? Wow. You guys really love to challenge me. I love this shit. So, I think the circumstances that would allow for something like this should be so unique and with such a high bar set that it's nearly impossible to do. I want this because I believe in personal autonomy above all else. However, if it can be proven that someone is completely unable to make decisions for themselves, then I could see a place for this. As I said, the bar should be set very high with good reason. This should be reserved for people who are brain dead or majorly brain damaged, or for someone who has severe mental retardation that impacts their ability to live autonomously. While it's terribly sad when elderly or uneducated people are manipulated into giving up large sums of money, I don't feel these situations meet the high bar of removing the person's autonomy. I believe a person who would take advantage of someone like this is a heinous individual and should be completely shunned by society as a pariah. Not to mention that they have committed a crime, fraud. But where do we draw the lines on people who make bad decisions? I once lost $25 in Bitcoin by sending to an incorrect address. While it was not a large sum of money, should I lose my autonomy? What if I had sent $25,000 to an incorrect address? Where do we draw the line? I do not believe that a child has the right to intervene in these situations at all, as it interferes with the parent's right to autonomy. While it may make a child feel powerless when their parents do such things, it is still their parents' right of autonomy that allows for it. A child can try to educate their parents, or request for the parents to voluntarily allow all transactions over a certain amount to require the child's approval. But all of these arrangements would have to be entered into completely voluntarily by the parents. I also don't believe there's an obligation at all. I'm of the opinion that there are very few times that someone is obligated to do something for someone else, and this is not one of those cases. I can see a desire to help them, and I understand that desire, but there's no obligation, especially if it interferes with someone else's rights. Guys, thank you so much for these questions. I'm still way behind on questions, so I'm going to bring back this segment next week as well. I still have 10 questions in the queue to get to, so I'll be knocking a bunch out next time. Don't miss it. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite Valentine, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on the show, go to thelavaflow.com/81. I have a new supporter this week. Curmudgeon W began a Patreon pledge to support the show at $2.50 per episode. Awesome, Curmudgeon. Thanks so much. And I love your name. And thanks to all of my awesome supporters. I am now at $261 per episode, or 52.2% of the way towards my next goal of $500. Remember, when I hit this next goal, I will be upping the content that I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content from me, and I really want to give it to you. So add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting already. If you, like Curmudgeon, want more of the lava flow, exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. After the best and most flattering 1-star review that I've ever received, I have no reviews this week on Apple Podcasts. But you can help me overcome that 1-star review from last week by going to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leaving a rating and a review today. All the cool kids are doing it, especially that guy last week. Thank you to everyone who's left me a rating and review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that right now. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.